Hey audio friends, MrAyrit here. Got a headphone review today of one that's not like a super popular model. I don't see very many reviews of it. I never really did. It's the Monoprice Monolith 1570s, M1570s. Okay, now this is a planar magnetic headphone. And they're big. They're really big, okay? And that is probably the worst thing about them. So you can see these guys are huge. They're very heavy. Probably the worst thing about these headphones is just the way they carry their weight and kind of the way they rip off and amalgamate some designs from other companies. But we'll dig into that here momentarily when we get into build. So as always, we'll look at build, we'll look at what they come with, and then of course we'll talk about what really matters, which is the sound. So let's take a closer look at the M1570s. All right, before we look at the headphones themselves, let's take a look at what they come with. So they come in just this kind of like circly semi-hard case, looks like this, right? It's pretty standard monolith. If you ever had like an M1070 or 1060 or anything like that, very similar to that. Oh, they do come with a couple sets of pads. You can see I've got the big leather or pleather ones on there. These are kind of velour-y type material. I didn't think they sounded very good with these, so all of my review impressions are going to be with the leather or pleather pads that are on here. You can see there's a little adapter here for the cable, a 3.5 adapter. And then here's the cable. It's a cloth cable. Very reminiscent of something like the HD 800 cable. I don't really have a lot of complaints about the cable. It's about a 5-foot cable, just the perfect length, I think. It is just a single-ended 1/4 inch. It does have mini XLR, so theoretically it should be the same type of cable if you have an aftermarket cable for, say, an Odyssey headphone or a ZMF headphone. It should work on these, but it doesn't. At least it didn't work on mine. So that's kind of like one big asterisk with these headphones is cable replacement. I'm not sure about, because I had a couple of different aftermarket style cables that were mini XLR. I had a Heart audio cable, and then I had ZMF, and I may have had a couple other ones, and they did not work on this. Oh, an APOS flow cable. I had an APOS flow cable. Didn't work on this. So I don't know quite what it is about these mini XLR adapters, but they just don't quite work. So there must be something a little bit special about the cable that comes with this, or maybe there's just something screwed up with my headphones. I don't know about that. All that being said, right, let's take a look at these guys. The build is not horrible. I mean, it's an all metal build. It feels very solidly built. It just feels solid in general, because these things they're freaking heavy, dude. These are like the heaviest feeling headphones that I have ever worn. Whether they're actually the heaviest headphones I've ever used, I don't know. Actually, let me just weigh these real quick, and then we actually know what that number is. So these things come in at a whopping, they're over 1.5 pounds. So in grams, they're like almost 700 grams, these things. So they are freaking beast, and they don't wear that weight well at all. You can see their headband is like a total ripoff of Focal, right? Like it might as well say Focal on there, right? Like they totally ripped that headband style off. And I mean, theoretically that should be fine. I think Focal headphones are usually pretty comfortable, but Focal headphones only weigh like 450 grams too, right? So these are they're so much bigger than that. And then of course, kind of the cup style is some sort of, it's really kind of like an Odyssey ripoff, right? The cup style. I wish they would have kept with the suspension strap system that they used with like the 1060s. I thought that was pretty comfortable for me personally. But yeah, gosh, oh man. These things are so heavy. They just feel so heavy. And again, you can see when you're wearing them, they just feel so big. So I guess I kind of hate that they like are ripping off other companies and like the designs. I mean, that's nothing new for some of this chi-fi stuff, but I do just kind of hate that they're just so blatant about it, you know? And then, man, they're just so heavy. They're just so heavy. They're not necessarily uncomfortable. It's just, you're wearing them. Like, it does just weigh you down. Now, Did that prevent me from enjoying listening to music at least? Not really, but just if you're looking for an all-day headphone, I definitely don't think that these are it just because of that. Now, outside of that, I mean, the build is good. Like, I feel like the finish and stuff is good. I mean, besides just the fact that it's so huge and heavy and it's ripped off, and the fact that my cables, like, I have to use the stock cable. Outside of that, the build seems fine. Like, they seem okay. So, all that being said, does the sound make up for it? It's close. It's a close one. They sound really, really good to my ear. I'm mainly listening to them through, I've got my RU6 going to the Quicksilver transformer coupled tube amp, right? And boy, they're good. They're smooth, plenty of detail. They're not the most resolving thing in the world, but there's plenty of detail there. Slight warm tilt to them. Bass is just really good texture. Nothing really stands out as just being bad or wrong, or I mean, they're not the end all be all in clarity and resolution, but as far as just like an easy listen that gives you an adequate amount of clarity and detail, with really good timbre, I mean, I think these guys they do sound really good. They do sound really good. There's not a ton of depth in the soundstage. Width is adequate, I'd say, right? And it's a medium, pretty typical headphone soundstage. Nothing super outstanding about it. Separation is, again, not the strongest I've ever heard. Certainly not HD 8XX or 800 series levels of wideness and separation and things like that, but still competent enough that it makes music listening enjoyable. I found these very universal in that I never really felt like there was an issue with the sound. They have a good, solid sound to them. So I think they're pretty decent. I just find them hard to recommend just because they're so heavy, is really what it comes down to. But I mean, I think for their new price of around $600, I think these are kind of a tough sell. But on the used market, I think you could probably find them for less than $300. I picked mine up. I think I bought them on a trade. I think I got them on a trade, and maybe I traded something that I thought was around $250 for them. So I thought it was a good trade at the time when I did it, and I still think it's a pretty good trade right now. I'm just debating on whether or not I want to keep them. Again, the sound is good enough for me. Like, I would keep them for the sound, but realistically, I haven't been using them that much, and I'm not sure that I will, just because they're so big and bulky. I mean, I think that's it. I think that's all there is to this one. It's a good sounding headphone, reasonably well built. It's just freaking heavy, and that's a shame. I wish they had a better headband system that could carry that weight a little bit better, because most of the time, large headphones and heavy headphones don't bother me too much. Like ZMFs, they got a great suspension strap system. The Odyssey stuff, I think, has a good suspension strap system. The old M1060s, good suspension strap system that I think is comfortable. It's just these guys they don't carry that weight well. One thought that's crossed my mind, and maybe I'll try it, I don't know. We'll see if I can sell them for what I want to get out of them and get a reasonable price out of them. But if I can't, I think I may try to put an Odyssey headband on them and see what that's like. So we'll see. We'll just see. If I'm going to put them up for sale, and we'll see if it works or not. But I do think the sound is pretty good on these. I don't know. What do you think? Do you have them? Have you heard them? What did you think of the sound versus like the weight? Does it bother you? I don't know. I'm curious to hear more opinions on these, just because I haven't seen that many. But I think if this headphone would have came out and would have weighed 200 grams less and had a comfier headband, I think they would have been rock stars. I think they would have been an absolute darling in the headphone community. I'm sure they still have their following. So if you're one of those people, chime in down below. I think that'll do it for this one. Thanks as always for watching. Be sure to subscribe if you want more headphone content. And if you want to support the channel further, there's some affiliate links down below, as well as a Patreon link. So thank you for your support, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one.